Hello and welcome to a brand new collaboration between Enwins Motors YouTube channel and the TKC Magazine YouTube channel. Now, those of you familiar with the channels, and if you're watching this on Patreon, surely you are, will know that we've had a lot of success with our History File series, where we take the magazine's extensive photo archive and provide voiceover to explain the stories of some of the cars and the manufacturers and the people of the industry in the past that helped to make the industry we have today. Well, what we're doing on this series is a similar thing, using the video archive from both channels to create more extensive videos on various cars or types of cars. By combining the video archive from both channels, we can actually show a little bit more to our individual Patreon supporters than you would get from one of the channels individually. Moreover, after 12 months, this will then filter onto YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube, there are another 11 episodes waiting for you on Patreon. So if you enjoyed it, then why not go to one of the Patreon pages for Enwins Motors or TKC Magazine and catch up on the rest. Anyway, without further ado, here is this month's video. Terry, I think of all the people I've ever met, you probably know more about Lamborghini replicas from a customer perspective than anyone that I've come across. Because how many have you built or owned?
Built a Prova originally, going way back, and I've rebuilt this Masterco, and I'm now building the Sienna. So that's 3. I've sold 2 other ones that I've had in my possession and sold, and looking at doing 1 more probably.
So, going back over the history of the Countachs for people who are watching,
yeah.
There was a big rush in the late 80s to actually come up with a viable Countach kit.
Yeah,
and it started the realistic-ish looking ones. I mean, when we move on from the Countess and the Panache and all those, when we get onto the ones that almost looked like a Lamborghini, we're starting with the Venom, which sort of
the first body mould,
off a real Lambo, which disappeared, and the Prova was probably the first
proper looking
one to actually be produced.
So it's certainly marked as a complete a kit.
Yeah.
That you could go away and build. Yes. For a realistic price. I think that was the idea.
Yeah.
The first one. Whether that was the case or not is a bit different.
And was that the first one you owned?
I built a Prova, the first original Prova, the early Prova. A lot of work went into that one. A lot of work, and it's now in Germany, still going.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, to the layman who hasn't built cars, I mean, it's not exactly a project to do as your first kit build, is it?
It's not a kit car in the terms of kit car, like a Robin Hood or something. It's certainly a lot of engineering skill needs to go into it, and remanufacturing of parts, even the door fitting. They never fitted properly on that first Prova. They were wobbled around quite a bit, and you had to re-engineer the hinges, get the doors to work properly. Bits where the chassis weren't very good. Even though it was a Lee-Noble chassis, it was shortened from a GT40 basically, and there's a lot of bits you had to really do to put right on it. But again, it was built for a budget. That's the thing of these things at the time. You know, everybody wanted a Countach look-alike. Everybody wanted to spend probably no more than £10,000 to £15,000 building one.
Yeah.
The reality of that is gone now.
Yes. I mean, what sort of budget did you... I mean, it's difficult to say on a car but at that time, what sort of budget did your...
At that time, I bought mine from a farm in Bristol, and it was stored basically as the kit, not really put together. The body was mounted onto the chassis, that was it. And I paid for about £4,500 for that first Prova as bits, basically. I sold it going way back for about 15k, so I made a bit of money on that one, but it probably cost me as much as that to build it.
Yeah.
I even made the wheels for that one because you couldn't get the replica wheels at that time, so I had to CNC the wheels to get the authenticity. So those bits weren't there then. The authenticity wasn't there in the bits to go on it. You could buy the body shell, and then everything else you had to sort of make. So, and that's where we started. On the Sienna, that came with £25,000 worth of parts on an Excel spreadsheet.
The Sienna, again, going through the manufacturers,
Yeah.
I mean, Prova was the first, GB500 with the V12, I don't think I've ever seen a finished one of those.
I've seen one. Yeah.
That had the Jaguar
That had the
V12,
Jag,
didn't it?
yeah.
And then there was the Mirage.
Yeah, Mirage Mark 1 and Mark 2.
Mark 2.
Mirage Mark 1 was basically a Prova shaped body. Mirage Mark 2, they corrected some of the things like the windscreen pillars, because obviously the early Prova and the early Mirage had very wide wing A-posts,
Yeah.
and the roof was quite flat. So Mirage Mark 2 tried to address some of that. And then they added some aluminium panels as well to make it a bit more authentic. I saw a nice yellow Mirage Mark 2 that my friend had, and that fetched quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it was mint, but he never drove it. So there's building it to show standard, and actually driving it is a different thing.
Yeah.
So there's people who build them to drive, like I do, or build them to show.
Yeah.
I built this, and it sits in the garage. So there's two versions of when you build these sort of kits.
Yeah. And so after the Prova, you had
I had a Masterco.
A Masterco,
which
is the red car outside.
Which is the red one we went in today, which is completely different to any of them. It's got a birdcage round tube space frame, like the original Countach, and it's very light, super light. But the roof shape is, I think, is better because it's got the curve and it's got higher glass, so you don't feel confounded into sort of a squash space. And it's quite a nice place to be to drive. So. And that one I've had now 5 years on the road, so it's standing the test of time. And I do hammer it, if you've seen today.
And as a driving experience, though, I mean, first of all, you're in a Countach.
Yeah.
So there's the feeling of being in a Countach.
The feeling, but it's easier to drive. I've driven a real one. Yeah.
And then, but on top of that, there's the added feeling that you've built it yourself.
Yeah.
So you've got that extra something on top, But how often are you able to use it?
Every weekend when it's sunshine. If sometimes, like see when it's raining, I've even used it. And the good thing with that one, I built it for reliability and usability. The body's got a bit of patina I want sorting out, but I quite like that because it looks more 80s than a brand new kit car looking one. So I'm in two minds whether to paint it or not, but I think I will paint it this year. But once the Sienna's done. But the Masterco one, they only made 5, and they spent so long building the chassis. I think he ran out of money building the chassis. Because it is quite a beautiful piece of art on its own. And then the body was quite rough. I've done a lot of work on the body to make it right. The front dipped slightly, as most of them do. They have this sort of Chinese look about them where they dip in, and the one-piece moulds don't always work very well. And they all suffer that. So that's one of the first things you've got to sort out.
Well, it's a very big moulding as a one-piece, isn't
Massive,
it? So you're going to get some...
So on the front of the Masterco, mine's all separate parts now, so you can actually alter the level of the lights and the angles and the fit. But that took some real chopping about to do. It's not for the faint-hearted, that one. But I like it better now, and it's all sorted. It looks the part now. The other thing is it's usable. I mean, you've seen today, it drives like a Ford Focus, but you're in a Countach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can pull at the travel lights, I can see in queues, there's no aggravation, no overheating, there's no stalling, no petrol smell. It does what it's supposed to do. As a kit car, you want to enjoy it.
And you said it's about 900 kilos.
Yeah, it's only about 900 kilograms.
And you've got 300 plus brake horsepower from a TBR V8 in the back.
Yeah. If you use the nitrous, it's a bit more.
Nitrous?
Yeah.
Lovely. And what gearbox is that running through?
It's still running a modified Renault UN1.
Right.
Yeah, the third gearbox. I've broke 3 already.
Yeah, there's the borderline on the torque, I'd imagine, with that.
Yeah. I've had to have a special one-piece shaft put in now, just to take the power. I probably should have gone to an Audi gearbox, but at the time the Audi gearboxes were quite expensive compared to the Renaults. Now the Renaults are expensive as well.
Yeah.
But I had 2 spare boxes, so I used the second one in the end. I mean, I had the first one mended, and it didn't last much longer. So we're now on the 3rd gearbox.
And you've got an Esprit as well, a Lotus Esprit. As a comparison,
Completely different.
But I mean, in terms of you're in a supercar, it's as drivable, if not more.
The Countach is more drivable than the Lotus. The Lotus you have to concentrate all the time. It's skittish, it's like a cart. Whereas mine, the red Countach, the Masterco, you saw I could go around the corners without thinking about braking. In the Lotus you have to sort of think about it still. It's not quite as planted, even though Lotus are renowned for their handling. I don't feel as comfortable in the Lotus as I do in the Masterco.
Right.
Masterco, I can take the corners at any speed, and as you said, I lost the walkie-talkie under the seat. The only thing that moved was the walkie-talkie.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful on the road, of course, as well.
Yeah,
so
it's a nice car to be in. But I say, it drives like you drive. You check gear changes easier, the brakes are easier, the clutch is easier. It's all the bits that affected the genuine Countach, which I nearly bought an anniversary many years ago, and I bought a Bentley GT instead. So investment-wise, I lost out. Luxury-wise, at the time it was the right thing to do. I enjoyed the Bentley. I loved that car, but that's why I bought the Prova. I thought, if I can't buy the real anniversary Countach, which was £49,000 then, so they were dirt cheap because nobody wanted them then.
Yeah.
Now everybody's, an anniversary starts at probably £200,000-300,000.
Yeah.
But at the time, this was quite a ropey one. The gear change was awful on it. It crunched the gears. It was really hard to put in gear. The clutch was.
So you're probably looking at a lot of money just to live with that, aren't you? Because just put
yeah.
right those problems.
Well, it just wasn't enjoyable to drive.
Yeah.
Especially locally, where I lived at the time in Derby. At the time, it wasn't nice to drive locally. I took it out and I came back. I was sweaty.
Yeah.
One with the car itself being a genuine one. Second, with the fact that it was hard to drive. Whereas now, just been out to the golf club. It's just a nice sort. Like you're going out in a Ford Fiesta, but with a Countach look.
Yeah.
And it parks up. You get out of it. Everything works. There's no trauma. It just does the job. Enjoyability factor. The smile on the face is still there.
Yeah.
Even though it's a replica.
Yeah.
But it's as close as I want to get, to be honest with you, to a real one. And for the money I paid for that one and for what I've done to it, it stands me a good amount of money at the moment. I spent quite a bit of money getting it to where it is, and then when I had the paint it will be even more, but I wouldn't sell that one over any of the other models, to be honest with you.
And the car that's being built, there's a sad story at the start, but it's a nice story how it's...
Unfortunately, the guy that I knew that was building it over nearly 10 years in his garage, he was an engineer, and he really did a fantastic job. I'll leave some photos with you to look at later, but as you can see by some of the photos, it was put together in a pristine style. Every ribbon, every bolt was like measured like 1 inch per space, and it was done to perfection. Unfortunately, the poor man, he had a very brief encounter with cancer and passed away. And when I spoke to his wife, she wanted me to have it to finish it. And I said, I'll do it, but I'll do it on the basis that you get to see it when it's done. And, because she sat there for month after month watching him build this car in the garage. So it was all part of her life as well as his.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful, put together piece of kit. As a kit, it's more together as a proper kit with everything there.
Because that was all double skinned, wasn't it?
Double skinned, it's got separate panels like wheel arches, front bumper, seals even. And even inside the door has a second skin, so it's not just blank moulds like all the rest were. This one's had some thought about how it's put together. And everything fits perfectly, of course, that's the thing about it. Alan, who sort of set Sienna up, he started building Provas originally, but decided that they needed to be better than they were. So he built the Sienna, rectifying all the faults basically that the Provas had. So there's a new Prova which is coming into the marketplace, and they really have got to beat that level, I believe, at the moment. That's the standard still as the Sienna. There's a few people building one-offs. There's a guy I know in Norway who's built a one-off in aluminium, but that's a lifetime ambition.
Yeah.
And I don't have time for that. I've got a full-time job and 4 cars to play with, so including the Aston, which I'm still messing with. So I've got enough projects as it is.
So. As somebody who's looking at a Countach, either second hand or to build, what would your first piece of advice be?
Make sure as much of it is there from day one, because the parts cost you a fortune. The glass, the bits and pieces, that's what counts the money, not the kit. People buy the Countach, look at the body and the chassis, and that's the easy bit. Then it's all the suspension, the engine, the fixings, fittings, just everything on it costs a fortune now, because you have to use basically genuine bits. There's a few people out there making replica parts, but most of the ones I'm building now have the proper correct bits on them. So if you want Countach bits on it, it costs you money.
So you're talking about a fair budget now?
Oh yeah, so the last 2 that sold in auction went for £50,000 plus pounds. So if you put that money into it, that's the money you'll get back. If you don't put that sort of money into it, you probably won't get any near the return. Depends what people are building them for. I mean, I didn't build my red one, my Masterco, to make money. I built it for enjoyment. Yeah. And as I say, it could do a respray, but like we've discussed, you can use it. I don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And
That's the thing, though. It's the pleasure of owning the car and
Absolutely.
driving the car. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of any kit car. Never mind.
Yeah, well, that's the idea of kit cars initially, was to do your own thing and enjoy
Yeah.
what you want to do, rather than what the manufacturer said you've got to do. And kit cars have come a long way since the early days, though, obviously. And obviously this one's got the IVA pass on it, so that's all done and dusted. And it's also emissions exempt. So the MOT man just looks at it and it's clear.
And as you mentioned, the Prover's coming back. I heard stories about another of the Countach replicas coming back. Is possibly a resurgence. I mean, obviously it's an engineering job to build them.
Yeah.
But when you finish them, are you living with a supercar or just a lookalike?
No, it's both. It's a lookalike, but it is a supercar. I mean, you've seen the speed mine
Yeah.
caught you up with. I dropped back a bit to give you a bit of space and then just floored it and let you see how quick it can be. Depends what you want to put in it. I mean, the Sienna's going to have a V12 BMW in it, so it'll look more authentic, but it probably won't be as fast as the red one.
Yeah.
But it will have a V12 sort of look and feel to it. Whereas the Rover stroke TVR V8, it's an aluminium, very light engine as well. It's not 220 pounds. I mean, the BMW and the bigger engines, the Audis, they're between 350 and 400 pounds of weight. So you're carrying that mass. So what I like of mine is the cornering,
Yes.
and I've still got the power.
Yeah.
If you want looks, yeah, you put a V12 in it. If you want it to actually go on a track fast, like mine's been around Rockingham, it will do it. And it surprised a few cars there, like McLarens and things. Said, "Well, you're still behind me." I said, "Well, yeah, but it's a replica, yeah. How?" So then we looked at the bonnet and said, "My God, yeah, no wonder you kept up with me."
So you mentioned there's still one more Countach in you.
Yeah, probably. Probably an LP400, the early one without the arches and the periscope top.
Yeah.
That's probably the last one I'll do. Depends on time and budget and retirement plans really, but you know, I'm getting too old for this game now.
Well, thank you very much for letting us look at the car, and
pleasure.
it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, and the car is a credit to you.
Well, thank you.
Hi Terry, it's been a few years since I saw you last.
Yeah, I've lost a few pounds as well. I can get in the cars now.
So when I last saw you, you were going to build one more car and then you were going to retire.
Yeah.
What went wrong?
5 more cars went wrong, yeah. And a few customers that wanted them built then delayed things, and some cars moved on quicker than I thought, half built. Customers changed their ideas what they want, and one guy wanted a complete aluminium car, then he didn't, then he did, and it dragged on for a bit. Then we built the LP400, so that dragged on for a bit, because that was very complicated. It went away to a different body shop, came back with the chassis chopped up, so I wasn't too happy about that. But
So taking it back a little bit,
yeah.
Prover had just come back, and you established a relationship with them as a.
Yeah.
Are you?
I've known Prover and Jed for a long time, so we just said, look, I need body shells, and if you want to build cars that are slightly different to what you want as kits, because these really aren't kits anymore, they're too complicated to be called kits, and they are, like we try and do, replicas of the, as close as we can get to the real thing. But we still need body shells, obviously, you know. We've made some parts of body shells. We just use the basic Prover outline shell for our builds, but Prover will sell the whole kit if need be, and you can build it in your own time, about 500 hours of your own time, using Prover parts. But as you've seen, we put roll cages in, built into the new chassis. We basically took a year out to design the chassis.
So the company's called
Artworks Designs Limited.
Artworks Designs Limited, and the chassis you were talking about. Now, your car is a Masterco.
Yeah.
And if for those who aren't familiar, there weren't many Mastercos, but what they did have is a very good chassis, a multitubular chassis.
Yeah, round tube, very similar to original Countach. Quite strong, very triangulated. But there was only 5 made, and I've got 2 of them. My friend's got a third one that's in 1,000 pieces, and the other 2, one, as I say, was in Ireland last time I saw it, still not built. and the third one was in the Netherlands, which basically had a Volkswagen floor pan put into it or something. It was only the shell that was used. I think that one disintegrated quite rapidly. So I've got two now. Well, one's going to, the Toyota Targa is a Masterco, my red one is a Masterco, so they're the only two that basically are in existence at the moment.
And your own chassis was you started with the Masterco design?
Yeah, because I bought this other Masterco to really take the chassis dimensions off and then build it for my own use afterwards. We looked at some of the panels on it, they weren't so good as the one on the red one, so we took the roof off and redesigned that, make it a Targa. And we've upgraded the chassis and suspension on that one to make it stronger. We used a lot of the new components on the new chassis in the Masterco, so they double cross over and fit. And taking the roof off, we obviously had to strengthen up the bars in the midsection. Whereas you've got a complete roll cage, this has like a sub cage that goes under the car and does that. It was going to be my own car, yeah, and I sold my Masterco to some guy in Florida, and then we couldn't import it, so it got complicated. And I do like, he's a great guy actually. He's a restaurateur, he's got 8 restaurants in Florida, some buildings and hotels and tenancies, and he wants a Countach Replica, but he wants the best, and he loved what I did with mine. He likes the fact I've been driving it for nearly 10 years, and the reliability is a key thing. You know, Masterco, they were meant to be the cheap alternative to do it yourself. You know, the advertising is that you could build one for £10,000 or under. That ain't possible. But you know, I suppose that's where the Countach kitcar game ended really. They got expensive, didn't they? So you're talking now, original parts on these, original wheels are like 16 grand. My magnesium wheels are probably 20 grand. Before you even start to put the car together, you've spent probably 30, 40 grand. And I put some of the guys off who I was doing cars for. They got to a certain figure, parts alone were something like £40,000. And we've still got paint on the car. You know, paint's like 8 grand, trims like another 5, 6 grand. And you've got suspension set up, tyres, wheels, all these things add up. And it's not a kit anymore, it's getting quite expensive as even a replica. Because they're so rare, to get the original parts is getting hard. So when I said I want to do 2, that was probably a good idea. Now I've got 5, it's getting harder to get the parts and getting more expensive every day. And
so what is the budget for one of your, you know, because yours is different from the Prova in so much.
Yeah, it's
just
really.
the Prova shell with your chassis, isn't it?
We only use the base Prova shell, we don't even use the doors. We use aluminium doors, steel frame inside the doors like a genuine Countach, aluminium boot, bonnet, engine cover. Our own chassis is about 12 grand before you start, so people sometimes flinch at that, but that's the price of safety in my view. I wouldn't want to build my name on it that didn't have that sort of safety built in. You can add to the Prova chassis, but it doesn't have anywhere near the safety features that ours has. You'd have to do some work to make it like ours, which the first Evo 1 chassis was a Prova that we modified to do. And then we got this Masterco, and we looked at the two and combined the ideas. So then we made the thick tube a lot thicker for the roll cage, and the bars at the back. So a genuine Countach doesn't have any bars at the back end of the car. It's flat. So if somebody hits you at the back, ours will try and take you over the top of the car out of the way. Same with the front. Whereas on a genuine, you'd probably go through the car. And aluminium, there's nothing to stop you doing that. So.
And some of the customer cars that you've got in at the moment, the purple car is a Sienna.
Purple car is a Sienna. Original car was built by a guy that I knew in Mansfield, local guy. Unfortunately, as I said in the previous video, he had cancer and passed away before he could complete it. And when I bought it, it was basically a rolling chassis with the brakes and wiring on the chassis, all clipped in nice and neatly. So I thought, oh, that's fine, that's going to work. So we spent some time building it because it was in bits, thousands of bits. Some bits were missing, we still can't find in the house where it was stored. There's bits under the bed, bits in the loft, bits under the mattress. It's one of those jobs. I'm building a car, but the wife probably doesn't know where it's all coming from. So we finally got it together, and then just as we got it together, the customer decided he wanted aircon and wind down windows, which has been a real dilemma really. It's a bit late for the job on that one, but we've put an electric aircon in it now. We've put brackets in the doors because the Sienna didn't have anything inside the doors, it was just a glass fibre moulding. So we've had to make internal doors for it. So you put the winders in. A few other things like the brakes were leaking. They weren't leaking until we actually got the car rolling and working. When I tried it around here, we found the brakes were leaking, and it was all one piece Goodrich air equip, front to back. So we couldn't even break into it, had to do it all again. So that's been a chore. And Yeah, a few bits like that really, and then wiring the loom into the heater system and the aircon system. It wasn't wired very well at the front, so because it was wired to the chassis and it was already built, we couldn't put the aircon pump on the engine because there's no room. And secondly, we had to decide where we were going to put the AC in the front of the car. So we tried a Porsche condenser under the front wing. That was too big. we tried different things, and eventually we went for, basically it's a bus system that you have overhead in a bus that feeds aircon into a bus. And we found that was the best way to do it in the end. And it sits under the spare wheel part. It's all self-contained, so, but it has to be wired in obviously again into the dash, so welding wires through the dashboard, feeding wiring looms in. We're just about finished it now. As you saw, we drove out today. I've driven it around the block here a few times, and it does drive nicely. It starts first time, and it's going to be a nice car.
And what's the engine in that now?
It's basically the same as a Renault Alpine V6. It's the PGV, I think they call it, Peugeot, Citroën, Volvo, whatever. But, it's a 3-litre engine, rebuilt the engine, it used to be an injection, took all the injection off and put it back to Edelbrock, Weber 4-barrel, so it's more reliable, more old school. There's no electrics to worry about on it. It starts, it goes. If there's no fuel, it don't go. It's one of those sort of cars, back to basics really. The gentleman who is having it eventually is an elderly guy, he's about to retire, so he just wants a car he can start and drive on the Isle of Wight basically. So you probably do more looking at it than driving it, I would think, but he's a tall guy like yourself. Again, it's going to struggle. It's not built for the big guys.
And you've done some cars with authentic engines, shall we say?
Yeah, we've got some BMW V12s, one twin turbo. They look the part. You probably do some photos to add to this monologue. It's a nice engine, it's a smooth engine. It's not the most powerful engine, but it does give a nice drive. We've also got a genuine Huracan V10 Lamborghini engine going in the next one, and that's the 6th one. I wasn't going to do any more, but there is one more.
And that's going to be with your own chassis, isn't it?
It's our own chassis, and again we've had to widen it because the Huracan engine's quite wide. It's mostly to do with the exhaust systems and the eco stuff on it. It makes it twice as wide as the Audi engine, which a bit of a pain, but we've had to modify the chassis to suit it. So that's underway at the moment, but just hanging off because we haven't got room for it. Just a bit busy.
And if someone had, say, a prover, they wanted building as a prover, with the... Would you be able to do that? Or
I'd rather do it with our chassis. I probably wouldn't do the prover one. That's best as a kit and let people do it how they want to do it. I wouldn't want to do the prover chassis, not for the fact it's not a good chassis, it is, but it needs bits adding to it from my point of view. I'm very sort of engineering background based, and I've raced and rallied cars and rolled them, so I know what happens when you roll a car, and you don't want to be in one really that's not got proper roll cage in it. It's just my own thing. And if I'm building cars for customers and my name's on it, I want the maximum safety you can get in a Countach. Not so easy because it's such a low car. SUVs now and things are much bigger, aren't they, than they used to be, so if something hits you want a bit more protection.
And your own Masterco is 10 years old now?
10 years on the road, not just, it's 10 years actually on the road, never been off the road really, except for the paint job, which took a bit of a while. But it got repainted a couple of years back because it was getting a bit scabby. As I tell you, I used to use it daily. And I've used it in snow, rain, wind, sun, everything really. And like your days, pull it out and drive it. That's what you want out of it really. You probably wouldn't get out of a real Countach, would you? You'd have to think about it before you warm the engine up and messed about and worried about going out on the road.
And it sounds quite throaty as well. It's the TVR V8?
Yeah, it's Rover block. That makes it emissions exempt as well, so there's none of the pain of MOTs. It's passed the MOT every year, no advisories. I do maintain it quite well, obviously, but it's got 5-bar link suspension on it like a genuine Countach, so a lot of it is very similar. It's all internal aluminium panelled, there's no glass fibre squeaky bits, so you can just jump in it and go, and it's reliable. That's what I wanted out of it really. Having built one before, it was glass fibre inside and outside, and it was very squeaky. I didn't really enjoy it. I regret selling it because it's a white one. Everybody wants a white one, and next two are going to be white. Obviously, she's done the white Jota. That was going to be my own car, but as I say, in the end, the customers persuaded me to sell him that one to Florida. So, because that is brand new, even though it's never been finished off.
So, tell me about the Jota body kit.
Well, it was basically came out as an 88.5 looking with the side strakes on it, which I hate. I just think they ruined it by putting strakes on the anniversary and the 88.5. They just ruined the belly and everything. So that one had the strakes on it, so I removed them. And I saw the Jota Countach in Japan, my friend over there, Eddie, who's got, and he happened to crash it on a circuit, and I looked at it, I thought, I'd rather have those skirts on it than the strakes. So I've basically copied a lot of the ideas from that car as a replication. So we've got that one sort of semblance to his car. We've got the Burgundy Sienna, it's a semblance to the Mirage, not the Mirage, the Mimran, one off that Patrick Mimran had in that special colour when he bought Lamborghini. So that's sort of homage to that one. We've got the yellow one, as you saw, which is sort of a homage to Marcello Gandini's car. And then this one, the QVSV, is basically the original body kit from the S Barrow. It's a one-off car that a guy from Switzerland had built specially, a massive amount of money to be different. He wanted a Countach, he's built it, but he still wanted it to be different. So, you know, more money than sense? Maybe. But we managed to get hold of the body kit from a friend in the Netherlands, because he'd take it off and put it back to round belly. And so we bought that, at great difficulty getting it here. Just after Brexit, they decided they didn't want to send anything over a certain length in the DHL anymore. And they were quoting me 3,000 euros to ship it. And it only cost us €1,000 to get it. So we actually went over and fetched it in the end. But we got it, and it's a one-off unique unicorn part of the car. And you've probably seen some of the photos of the original car. It was a beautiful car, and a very famous car. But as I say, the car's gone back to standard looking now. And I don't know where it even resembles if it lives in Italy or Netherlands now. It's a long story, that one. But, so we've got the exact body kit which fits on the Prova exactly. So that means to me that the Prova shell is actually very, very accurate, because the body kit went straight on there. And we cut the wheel arches off, obviously, to get that kit on, because that kit came with its separate arches. So we separated all the arches, which Prova doesn't have separate arches. So that was a bit of a man-hour session for me, a few weeks sorting that out. And then putting it all back together, and then fitting the aluminium panels to that one as well. So aluminium doors, bonnet boot, engine cover, we have those all made specially for that car, and that's not an easy thing to do anymore. The skill base now is virtually gone. The old guys don't want to do it, or they've retired, you know, they want an easy life. So we can't find the skill base. The young lads don't really have the skills to do it anymore. It's weird. We offer to train some, they just look at it going out, they don't want to know. Prova's having the same problem getting parts made. We've tried a few guys up there to get parts made, and it's hard work. So whether we build any more is doubtful. People keep asking me, oh, can you build one? How much is it? How much are these? But I think after this special one for the Hurricane genuine engine, that's probably it for the Countachs. We might move to Muras or something. But
I keep hearing rumours of a Mura kit coming out.
It's been around for ages. It's a Parallel Designs one that Parallel had, sold off again, sold through many people, never got built because it was a very early Prova Mark 1 Mura, and the shape isn't quite right. If you're going to build one, you want to build an SV with a wider back on it, or an SVJ, the Jota one. That's what the people really want. I know the P400 is one that the connoisseurs of the £1.2 million club want. That's a real one. That's because it's that one to be real. If you want to build one to look at and drive, the SV is the one to get the wider wheels and stuff. It handles better, it'll drive better. And we could build one of those really nicely into an aluminium, say Lotus chassis or something, or VX Vauxhall chassis. Then with the Toyota twin cam engine, a bit like the Stratus idea, using the Evora type Toyota engine, or even a Volvo 5-cylinder, but transverse, because the Prova was longitudinal, the Mura, which is completely wrong. It's like putting the transverse engines in these for the American Fiero ones, just wrong, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to replica, you've got to have the engine in the right orientation. So if we're going to do one, we're going to do one right, and you know, we'll see. I've got a few years yet to retire. That was the idea, supposed to retire, build 2 cars, but that's not happened, does it? It's got too busy. And between these 5 we've got in here, we've had a Mirage which we sorted out because it was a mess. We've had the LP400 which we built for a guy. We've also had, I think it was another one we did. I don't know what it was now. Oh, we're building another one. We're actually printing a Le Mans type one. So it's basically a Countach, but it's a Le Mans looking one. We're printing it, it's hard work. I mean, to see, I'll probably post some photos soon. We're printing the actual design of it, but the printing is taking longer to do than we actually anticipated. And it's all little panels that all just, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's called the Predator. It's basically, it was our own design, and a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, said we'd build it together. We haven't got the space, so he's building it at home at the moment. We're trying to help him do that. He's provided a few bits like steering wheels and bits and pieces he wants putting in it. So and seats and different designs. It's like a Lamborghini Countach basically. There was a picture of one years ago. I think somebody tried to build one in the States but never got around to doing it. But he's doing it basically. So it's like a Porsche 962 but with Countach wheels and Countach front on it. But it's got the round glass like a Le Mans car, so it's a bit different. But so we're working on that at the moment in our spare time.
Sorry to interrupt the video, but if you'd like to help us out by subscribing by pressing the little bell just below the main screen there, that would really help us out. If you select the all button as well, or the all option, that means you'll be notified every time one of Neil's videos drops onto the channel. We've got big things planned for the channel, so at the moment we've got a monthly frequency in terms of new videos, but we're planning some nice little in-betweenies which are likely to be popping up very soon, so don't miss out on those. So if you subscribe, you'll be advised every time one drops. And also the little like, thumbs up button is very important to us as well, please, because not only does it mean you like it, and if you've watched it this far, I think you might like it, and it doesn't cost you anything, it's free. So if you press the thumbs up button for us, give us a thumbs up, helps our algorithm on the channel. So I don't actually know what that means, but I'm told that's quite important. So if you could do that, I'll be a happy bunny. But thank you very much for watching anyway, and thanks for doing that.
When we get some, it's that's where we are at the moment. Keep going, building what we've got, and get the Sienna finished. The yellow one, we're waiting for a motor from the States, which went missing. Not our doing, but the customer said he paid for a 10 grand crate motor and it's gone walkabout, so he's trying to track it down. So that's stood at the moment. So after we get the Jota painted, this one's going for paint next. We wanted to see how good the paint job was on this one, then this one will get painted the same white. Put it the same here. We've tried sending the cars out and it's just not getting done. There's a lot of people around that say, yeah, you can do stuff too. We had the problem with the trim. We've tried 3 guys with trim, and the 400 one took 1 year to do 1 seat. It was too long. You know, we can't wait that long. That's delaying the car being built. So we've got the greatest trimmers now called Awesome Auto Trim down at Peterborough. We've got the paint guy who did the Sienna and my Aston Martin, so I've got previous with him, he's done good jobs. We've got me prepping it and building the thing in the first place to the level I can see. Then we get them in to say, right, extra pair of eyes, you tell me what's wrong. So we spend another week on it. Because I'm not a paint guy.
And you post your builds on internet as well.
Yeah, post them mainly for the clients to follow. It's quite good because they give feedback and they get involved with all the.
So where can fans see those?
Well, they're all on my Facebook page, on Artworks Designs on Facebook.
So Artworks Designs Facebook page.
Facebook page, or Countach Lamborghini one on what's the other one?
YouTube?
No, I've got a YouTube channel as well. I can't remember what that's called now, but I've got to upgrade that a bit. We've got different forums coming out. We're going to try and do some more different ones, probably more YouTube coming up. Getting the cars moving is quite nice to see, like we did today. It's nice to see when they're on the move. You know, it's great seeing static photos of all different cars, but when you see them move, it's something else. It's getting hard for me to video them and drive them at the same time, so it's nice to have somebody come and do it for us. What I've seen today is just fabulous, so that's something else.
Well, thank you ever so much for your time.
No, pleasure.
And
pleasure.
Good luck with the builds.
Yeah.
And
thanks for sticking with us.
Send us photos.
Yeah, no problem. Be loads to come out today, I think. It's,
You